Welcome, Adrian. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, it's great being on this live, podcast today, or live for your group, because obviously we've been speaking for a while, Parul, and really looking forward to, telling stories to all your coaches.
Thank you, Adrian. I've been looking forward to this conversation too, because we connected a while ago, but we didn't really get to have this conversation. And yes, so I'm really looking forward to today. We are going to get into the topic that we have chosen for today, which is transform your mind to create your next level of impact in the world. But why don't we start with who Adrian Hales is? Tell us, what is your story?
Yeah, so kind of when I was younger, grew up in Birmingham, went to school and, tried my hardest, but really didn't enjoy the standardized education. I found it really tough at school, like doing the academia, whereas I excelled in sport. And I remember sitting at the playground one day and staring across all the other kids. And at that point, I knew there was something different about me. Like, what I'd found is that I had dyslexia, suffered from dyslexia. And at that time, I made it mean like that I wasn't good enough, or that I couldn't be as good as the other children. But I found my outlet, which was sport. So like many people that might be listening, often when we're kids, we're learning, but we're told that school learning is the best way to learn, where in fact there's so many different ways that we can find our self-expression as a kid. So then I kind of got into like kind of sport, the military when I was younger, and found that real kind of leadership and that teamwork, and really what it takes to push through some of those barriers and blocks that we have. And then I found an affinity and a love for coaching. I had a decision at this point, and like many of us, we go through decisions in our life where we either decide to go to the next level or we decide to stay seated. And that was one of the decisions that I had in my life, to let go of something I really loved, which was playing rugby, and follow this kind of path of this coaching thing that I really loved. And what I loved about coaching is that you could help people achieve their goals. So when early on in the coaching world, I was using the GROW model. I think that's where we all start out. And this was probably about 12 years ago. And then I got really interested in like linguistics. So then I got really curious, because I got an understanding of transformational coaching, and something started to shift in me. Something started to change, and I thought, well, this is an amazing experience I'm having. What if I could let go rugby and start to learn more about that piece? So that was then, I went on that path to learn as much as I could about learning development, as much as I could at learning about transformational linguistics and transformational learning. And I got to the point in my life where my life wasn't working anymore. I got to be a sales director. I played rugby. I was in the military, and I thought, and it suddenly hit me that my life wasn't working, and I felt deeply unfulfilled. So I decided to press pause on my life in that moment, and I flew across to Menorca, a little island, and I just started to work on where my life was really going. So I had 6 months out, almost like, as you can imagine, someone like in a cave in the middle of winter, and just worked on my life, took an honest look at where I was. And at that point, I had no money in the bank, very limited. And I was stuck, I was lost. So I decided then that coaching was going to be my purpose, and I was going to go in 100%. So I came back to the UK and was on the dole. I signed on the dole and started applying for learning and development roles. Through trial and error and trying my hardest, I eventually got one in London, which is where I am now. This was like many years ago. And then I went from the dole, from deciding to really be a high-performing coach, I went from being on the dole to earning like a really good salary, traveling the world, doing all this learning and development. And there I am, like, just coaching and training all these people, like literally living my dream. But within that, I always felt there was something missing. I felt like I could turn it up a notch. But there was like a calling, like a call to leadership, something bigger, to serve something bigger than myself. And that then led me to 5 years later, after learning so much about coaching, to having another decision point. And I remember going to work, and feeling really unfulfilled. Yeah, on all the money, like on over 100K, doing my coaching, doing the workshops, but feeling unfulfilled and thinking, what is this in the way? And then the decision point came. This guy came in to do some psychometric testing for our business. And he said, I can sense that there's some energy about, really starting your own business, starting your own coaching business. And you've got two choices. You either stay here and turn it down, or you leave and turn it up. And then I ended up leaving the corporate world to start my own coaching business kind of about 3 years ago now. And the final part to my story is that I did as much as I could to build this coaching business. I threw the kitchen sink at it. And there I was again with another decision point, eating my Tesco meal deal, sat on the curb. Either take this building of the business really seriously, because what I realized at that point is I didn't have the strategies. I didn't really know how to grow a business, and I didn't really have the mindset, and I hadn't done the real work on the business mindset to grow a coaching business. So then I decided to build a coaching business, and then from that success, I joined High Performing Coach, which is a team of extraordinary coaches where their purpose is to serve the evolution of the human race by empowering coaches to transform the world. So that's where I am now.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I love what you said about stay here or turn it down, or leave and turn it up.
Yeah, it's really interesting because, Parul, when I look at a human, I look at like they've all got this superhuman gift, right? Buried within their beliefs and stories, they've got this little shining light. And some people can see something within you that sometimes you can't see within yourself. And at that point, I was just head down. I was just going through the motions. I was feeling this inner conflict. And I was like, brush it under the carpet. Oh, that's nothing. I've got to be more productive. I've got to be more busy. But the results spoke for themselves. The results I was creating at that point in terms of the feeling and in my job, those are results that I didn't want. And it took somebody else to point it out to me who was an expert in. They were called in to do psychometric testing. And he said, at the moment, you're trying to do an exceptional job. You're trying to do a world-class job where you are, but they don't want a world-class job. They want a good job. So you either stay here and turn it down a little bit, or you leave and turn it up. And that was a real indication that whenever we're stuck in that glass ceiling, will only ever be good for the rules and the results within that environment. Whereas if we create our own environment, the glass ceiling kind of moves up a level. So that's the result of that quote that somebody said to me.
Oh, that's so powerful what you just said there. Create your own environment, and then you just redefine the whole glass ceiling thing.
Yeah,
you can either smash it or you can just keep raising the bar.
Yeah, you can either smash it or raise the bar. And there's also another story of this Buddha that became enlightened, right? So he became enlightened, and he sat and he basked in his little cave, and he sat there with his little prayer beads on, basking in his presence, and just, I've done all the work to get enlightened, and life's just amazing. And he stayed in his cave for the rest of his life. And then you've got another Buddha who does the same, gets enlightened, prayer beads, and kind of sits in the cave basking in his presence and all the learnings that he's got. And instead, that Buddha comes down into the village and leads people side by side and teaches them what he learnt. And I think that's the difference with coaches. We can either sit behind our qualifications and our computer screens and what we've learned, but it really takes something to step outside like you're doing now and show up powerfully for our clients, for our community, and really, serve people powerfully. And I think that's what coaching is all about. We have a commitment to give that away.
Absolutely. Adrian, I want to share with you that we have a live audience building up. We have Eileen, who has joined us from Canada, and Frank has joined us from Ireland.
Awesome.
Hi, Frank. Hi, Eileen. And Frank has a question for you.
Wow.
He says, awesome. What if you jump over the bar?
Okay, so I probably need a little bit more clarity on the question. So what's the question behind the question? That's Frank.
Frank, go on, tell us.
What's the question behind the question?
My understanding is that he's talking about the glass ceiling. We can either smash it or raise the bar or jump over the bar.
Yeah, and I think that comes back down to unshakable belief. If you think about looking at our lives, in answer to Frank's question, we can either smash through it or create our own bar. But then at that moment, we only have our level of perception on that glass ceiling. So often we look at the results that we're creating in our life, what's not working in terms of the results that we're creating. We're either creating the results that we want or we're not. And consider that everything we do in life is to create a result. You know, we brush our teeth so our teeth are nice and clean. We have a coffee to feel nourished. We go to work as coaches to earn money. So it's very important, if we look at a context, for instance, like our coaching business, this is a message to Frank and anyone who's listening, you know, being really clear on what are the results that are not working for us right now. And then we can track that back down to in an unshakable belief, because then we'll have mindset and actions. Like we're either acting like we're doing now, creating great learning as a podcast, or we're acting and deciding not to do that. Both are an action and both create a result, whether it's a result that we don't want or it's a result that we do. And then consider in that moment, there's a certain mindset at play. And the mindset, just to simplify this, it's either we can do it or we can't do it. There's always mindsets and attitudes at play.
Yeah.
And then there has to be another level deeper as well. We have to look at then what are the views, opinions, and beliefs that are not working for us. And then the next level is where are we spending our time? What's important to us? And where are we prioritizing our time? Are we prioritizing safety? Then we stay below that glass ceiling. Or are we prioritizing being a risk taker? And therefore we're doing stuff like podcasting and engaging an audience. And then the bottom part is a piece which I think that you'll resonate quite a lot with, Parul, is around creating space, which is the alignment around the awareness of consciously choosing in the moment by moment by moment. And then we can consciously choose when everything's in alignment, all of our results, the actions that we take in a mindset, the views, opinions, and beliefs, and the priorities, then we can consciously choose to be a risk taker or whatever that might be to get us to that next glass ceiling or that next level.
Yeah, I appreciate what you said about alignment there, Adrian, because this job of finding alignment or getting into alignment is not a one-time job. It happens continuously. And if I just go back to the story that you shared with us, your life story, I can clearly see that you have done that over and over again, taking those decisions that helped you move forward and reach you where you are now.
Yeah, and I think it's a great observation because I'm sure that you've had to have some pretty big decisions in life, and I think in answer to the question, in that moment, we're either stepping forward into growth or backwards into safety. And that uncertainty is scary, but who we could become in the process is exactly, who we're meant to be. And then as coaches, when we've gone through that experience and we're the real deal and we're walking our talk, we can call upon that to help lift other people forward. Because I think as coaches, when we're walking side by side with people like the Buddha that's in the village giving that advice, is a really interesting story that I learned once. And there was this teacher who was an amazing teacher, really transformational, great loads of wisdom and help people like really be successful students in their life. And one day, one of the kids said, "Look, I'm learning all this great stuff." Like to the teacher, "How do you do it?" And the teacher said, "All I'm doing is reading 2 pages in front of you on the textbook." So I think that's just a simple, we've got it figured out to a certain level and we're moving people forward, but we can learn from both sides,
Yeah, so true. Bit of anticlimax for the student there, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just reading 2 pages.
But sometimes the simplest things work, and we rush around making it this complex thing. It's like, you know, we rush around and make it this really complex thing, but actually it's the simplest things. But sometimes the simplest things require more courage, because they're a direct path. It's being direct and it's not going around the houses. But when we can start to do that, when we can start to take life on and be cause in the matter of our life, our business, that's when we become responsible for our lives and, you know, really choose powerfully, and then magic things happen.
Absolutely, absolutely, yes. A lot of times the simple stuff is the hardest bit to do. And I think more so because when it is that simple, we know it already that this is what we should be doing, but we are choosing to stay safe. That typically keeps us small, but it has a purpose, but it tends to keep us small. And it can also keep us stuck, as you were saying. And so when there is something very simple that needs to be done, it's better to do it, because it's going to most likely it's going to help us.
Yeah. And if we have a belief that, you know, to be successful, you have to like suffer, or to be successful, it's hard work to be successful, or to earn money, it's hard work. That belief is always going to inform the actions that we take and the results that we get. And considering that all beliefs are made up, they're not the true reflection of reality, that when we're conscious that that's what we're doing and we can catch it, which is easier said than done, then we have a position where we have a place where we can choose a different belief, a different action, which creates a different result.
Yeah. I'm laughing because everything that you're saying here, I resonate with it so much. That whole BS story about it's got to be hard to make a worthwhile living. Or one of my stories was, if you have done it the hard way, then it is somehow worthier.
Yeah.
I have no idea how I got it, but now I can look back and just laugh at it, at how untrue it was.
Yeah. And I think that we're always creating those stories. And I think you're really right to point out is that often those stories are there to keep us safe. And often it's a lot of like learned conditioning from the past, a lot of learned conditioning through society. And look, it's always going to be there, that constant stream of the mind chatter. But when we can look in the eye of the tiger without it biting us, that's when we're in a position to choose what's right for us, not what's right for the conditioning.
That's a powerful metaphor you have used. The tiger metaphor. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, it's like there's a tiger there, which is there. It's a constant, that mind chatter. And when we can look in the eye of the tiger that's there, well, it can be the chatter of the mind, and it also can then change our states, so our feelings, our emotions, you know. And when we can look into the eye of that tiger without it biting us, because often what we do is we believe something about ourselves, like an identity or a feeling, and then we act on it, and it was never true in the first place. So if we can reverse engineer it and just pay attention to that tiger and just look at it without it biting us, then we take our power back, and we choose what's right for us as a whole system, rather than what's right for the chatter.
So true. So we get back into the driver's seat.
Yes, we get back into the driver's seat, exactly.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like to be in the driver's seat of my own life. It's more fun that way.
Yeah, definitely. You get to have the keys. You get to use the steering wheel rather than being the passenger seat and a crazy child just, you know, doing handbrake turns everywhere.
Yeah, but when we are in the driver's seat of our own life, then it comes with certain responsibility and ownership and taking those decisions. A lot of times, the hard decisions that you were just talking about, Adrian.
Yeah, I think it does. And I think in life, we go through a journey of kind of dependency.
Yeah.
We go through a journey of independence and then interdependence, where we're part of a system.
Yeah.
It takes a while, really, because it's tied up in that being responsible and being accountable. one of the biggest fears is tied up within that, and it's a fear of failure, the fear of being judged. And as we said before, a lot of those are stories, but they seem so real to us. And what I've noticed throughout my journey in working with clients is that the more that we avoid that, the more that it's there in our awareness, or in front of everything, or behind everything as we're going through life. But if we can confront that and go into that, we actually find out that it's an illusion, and we can get like the learnings from that fear. And the fear might creep back in, but we have a moment by moment, based on our awareness, to choose something different in that moment. So sometimes, when I'm doing coaching or enrolling coaching clients, the judgment will come in. Oh, they might not be able to afford it, or or a belief, I can't do this. And once you've got awareness around that, you can let it go. And the metaphor I like to use when we let it go is just imagining that you've got the top of a kettle, and it's boiling, and the steam comes up, and you just let the steam out. And then you'll find that in its place is an awareness which you can choose from. And then that's your power then, to let it go. And it's almost like you hear that mind chatter and replace it with the sound of a tweeting bird outside, and then just choosing from that space. And that's when you become powerful in creating your life.
Oh, I'm loving all these metaphors and visual images that you're creating for us.
Well, it's obviously your group's all about stories and metaphors, so I thought I've got to bring it today.
No, the kettle analogy that you used is so powerful, and just letting that steam out.
Yeah, letting the steam out, because we have that experience, and we have an emotional experience. We have the mind chatter creates everything, and we have this feeling. And we believe that we identify with that. That's intrinsically us, and sometimes that's what keeps us stuck. So if we can view that, when and it might show up when we're building our business as coaches, or enrolling clients, or doing podcasts.
Yeah,
we can notice it, and then just allow that steam to flow out, and it puts us in a place of awareness. And then awareness and space, moment by moment by moment by moment by moment. Parallel, what we're able to do then is choose our priorities, is choose our opinions, views, and belief in that moment that's going to empower us to create results. And then choose our mindset, our set of attitudes, and the actions that we take to get the results that it's going to make a difference to us, and it's going to make a difference to our clients. So we start at the top and go down the pyramid, and then we're reverse engineering it all the way up.
I love how everything that you are saying, you bring it back to how we can choose those things, how we can choose our beliefs, how we can choose our stories, how we can choose our paradigms. I love that. Yeah,
and I think one of the big journeys for me is, certainly doing a lot of courageous stuff, and not like saying, oh, I'm courageous, but deciding and confronting fears and being brave and showing up. To other people, like, you might be like, oh, a podcast is easy, or a speaking gig's easy. But actually it takes something to do this. And often we don't know the fears that people are dealing with. And really interesting thing, I'll tell you very simply, and then I'll tell you a story. A big journey from my life is want to be recognized by people, or getting validation. Is this the right way? Is this the right way I should be doing it? And when we start to move into uncertainty, of course, there's places that we haven't been before, and there's places that we've been. So the places that we're not sure where we're going, we need guides, we need coaches, and we're asking for validation. But I started to get aware of actually the asking for, is it the right way to do things, was keeping me stuck. And then a coach that I work with said to me that when we are asking other people, is it the right way? Right is a judgment on a task, or a judgment on something. And the only person that can ever judge if it's right for us is ourselves. Is us. Very good, Pearl. Yeah, it's about us. And when we can come from that place, is that the results and the outcome is self-maintained. We can never put a result or outcome that's significant for our life and rely on other people. yes, there's a factor, but if we can say that I'm at cause for the results in my life and I'm responsible for those results, then we can never blame anyone else when it doesn't work out. And it takes me, I think you will like this story because it's all around speaking and telling stories. I remember I was about 7 years old and I built this castle, and it was made out of Kellogg's cornflakes boxes, right? And I thought it was the most amazing thing ever. Had little bits of string, you pulled it and it came like this at school. And anyway, I'm there just like, like loving life, this is amazing. Took it home to my dad and said, look, I built this. And he was like, I'm so proud of you, son, you're amazing. So I was flying on, cloud number 9. Till the next day, I came to school walking with this little castle, and the teacher stopped me at the reception and said, Adrian, just to let you know, in 5 minutes, you're presenting this castle in front of the whole of school. So there I was, a little 7-year-old kid looking at this huge audience of like 300 screaming kids and teachers waiting for me to go and present. And at that moment, when I got to the front, the fear of God came into me, it was just like, boom. And I stumbled my way through this presentation, and I was shaking, and all the kids there laughing at me. And I made a decision at that moment that I wasn't good at expressing or wasn't a good speaker. It didn't matter at that point because I brushed it under the carpet. But years on, when I reconnected with my purpose, I realized I'm going to have to do stuff like this. I'm going to have to do workshops and coaching, but that is going to be in the way. And if I don't deal with what's in the way, it's going to continue to create the results that I don't want. So what I decided to do is go to Speakers Club. So I went to Speakers Club, obviously in Southwest London. So I found a local club. I just got a job as head of learning and development, but struggled to speak. And I sat down. I had really good intentions, and I was just like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take on this fear. And then all of a sudden at the end, they said, right, we're going to do improv speeches. So you've got 2 minutes. And when you come to the front, you've got 5 seconds to work out what you're going to speak about, and someone will give you a topic. Who wants to do it? And this little kid was going, no, don't put your hand up. And this repeated for 4 weeks until finally an Arctic Monkey song was playing in the background, and it said, this is the only reason that you came, so what you're scared for. So I ended up putting up my hand, speaking, and get best speaker that night. Thank you very much. And that was an irrational fear that was there that I had to confront. And then, like all good coaches do, they help someone else come through. Now, one of my friends got offered to do a TED Talk, who's a coach. Now, they hadn't done any speaking before, like significantly, and they had a fear of public speaking. And this is another decision point, because there'll be coaches now maybe listening where they're like, I really want to step up to my next level to be a high performance coach, but something's keeping me stuck and I don't know what it is. And we can find that out, we can find out what's really blocking us and step into our power. And at that moment, I said, look, meet me at Speakers Club in a week's time. So they met me there. And, I could see that they were like, the fear was there for them, but they had this TED Talk coming up. So they had a vision they wanted to create, but something was in the way. So we sat down and they said, who wants to speak? Obviously, I'd already done for this, put my hand up, went and spoke, and then sat back down. They were like, oh my God, like you were so confident when you did that. And said, well, I still feel the fear, but I use the energy. And I said, are you going to get up and speak? And they said, oh, no, not today. I said, okay. I said, well, you have 2 choices, really. And like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I said, well, you either be scared, sat down here, or you be scared, stood up there.
Oh, brilliant. I love that.
And they went on to continue to be a great speaker. 6 months they were engaged in that club, and they went on to do their TED Talk to TEDx like youth, and they did an amazing TED Talk. And that exists within us. We sometimes just need an accountability, a group of people, coaches and experts to pull us along a little bit until that starts to kickstart within us. And that was then like a breakthrough of performance. But obviously, when I stood for that person powerfully, they went on to impact thousands of younger people.
Yeah.
So I think sometimes we lose touch with who's counting on me to win today as a coach. And it goes far beyond our little cells. It goes far beyond, goes to the families, their families, and the people, those lives that we can impact beyond that. And I think sometimes as coaches, when we get stuck with making it all about us, whereas we can say, who's counting on me to win today? And straight away, as coaches, we're often motivated by doing the best for others.
Yeah.
And straight away, it puts that criteria into the frame.
Yeah. Now, I'm with you. One of the reasons why I love working as a coach is because of this ripple effect that you just talked about. Because it's not just about impacting our own life and the life of that client and their family, where their entire ecosystem gets impacted. And then they go on to do great things. And that ripple effect goes far beyond what our eye can see. So it's amazing.
Yeah, and it's all, it's like doing that selflessly. And the power is just knowing that happened, and then to sit there. That is when you get fulfillment as a coach, knowing that that's why you made a difference. Because as coaches, unless we're doing that, we're not making the impact that we could do. And we owe it to ourselves in this lifetime to be able to do that. So yeah.
We also have Abha here who has joined us, and she's saying, who's counting on me to win today as a coach? That's brilliant.
Yeah, awesome. It's just a question to consider, right? Who's counting on me to win today? Who's counting on me to be at my best?
Yeah.
And because I think sometimes in the coaching world, as we know, we have ourselves to rely on. And sometimes that requires a huge amount of kind of motivation to get up. And I remember sometimes when I got stuck in my coaching business, because I had all the mindset, the drive, the ambition. But then in terms of the actions that I was doing, they were the wrong actions to grow a business. And also my views, opinions, beliefs were kind of had some weeds in them that need to be picked out. And because all that was going on, I was prioritizing safety rather than growing my business. And it was really tough for me to get up every day. I was getting up each day and I had no money, hardly any money in the bank, hardly any clients. I was working in the library. I was like dragging myself out of bed, and I did this for about 2 years. Because I just didn't have the strategies. I didn't have the actions. I didn't have the right beliefs or the priorities. And as I said before, I remember that the moment when it all changed, when I came to a decision point, it was like eating a Tesco meal deal on the curb. I either go back and get a job, or I take this business building seriously. And that was then another decision point to invest in a program at HPC, and then go on to actually being a co-founder and partnering with HPC. So it just shows that anyone can do it, because I left school with 0 qualifications, and it was just a drive and a desire to keep on going and to keep on evolving that got me here. So anyone can do it.
Yeah. Yep. Anyone can do it.
Yeah.
They put their mind to it and they put in the work.
Yeah. And they also have the right strategies, because what I realized, put in the work, have the right mindset is really key. What you've touched there is really key, Parul, to have that. And then also to have the right strategies so that you start creating the results. Because what I realized is that I was quite independent and quite stubborn, and I knew the way to do it. What that left me with was limited results in my coaching business, because I didn't have the right actions, the right priorities, and the right strategies. And then when I found those, what that started to do is it started for me to regularly enroll consistent clients, create a bigger impact, and actually feel like I was fulfilling on the purpose that I started with. But it came to a decision. I'm either going to choose option B, which is stay with the life that's not fulfilling, or choose. And to what you said earlier, we always have the power to choose. Sometimes all it is with coaching clients or enrolling new clients is giving them the power to choose their future. So that's really important.
Yes. And not deciding for them. Give them an option.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is about, is really helping people get really clear on their story and their reality, but not the reality that we're trying to portray, that we've got everything handled, it's sorted. But let's just be really clear where we are right now.
Yeah.
How's that impacting our life? What results are we not creating? What's that like? And getting really present to what's actually showing up, rather than what we think we want to tell people, because that's what's going to make the difference when that's out the way. And then it's about creating unshakable belief as coaches. When we can start creating that unshakable belief and being really clear and honest with where we're at, that gives us the power to choose. Whereas if we're pretending that everything's okay, we have no choice. We're at effect of our life. So I really agree with that point, that it is about, it is really about showing people what they can create, the vision that they can create, and all the story that's holding them back, and then getting them to choose, where they're going to be going. Is it going to be back to work to get a proper job, or like me, take the coaching business really seriously?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say that when as coaches, we choose to stay safe and often small, then we are doing a disservice not just to ourselves, because it impacts our ability to create that impact and generate that income, but we are also doing a disservice to people who need our help.
Yeah, I love that. I really love that, because when we're stepping on a call with somebody who's a potential fit for what we do, or somebody that we've known for a while, or someone that's in our circle, if we're not offering what we do when they are stuck and they really need our help, I like to think as every conversation that I have with people is the most life-changing moment or conversation that person's going to have. And then I show up with a completely different energy. Whereas if we're like, oh, I'm just catching up to chat today, it's going to be a kind of pleasing, nice conversation, but it's going to make no impact. Whereas if you're looking for something in the space that's keeping them stuck, and then just ask, are you open to some help with that? Loads of people are, and that's being very powerful as a coach, knowing that you can help that person and being confident enough to say, are you open to some help with that? And then helping that person. Because I think as coaches, we have a differentiator between, oh, I'm coaching now, I've got a client, and then, oh my God, I've got to sell, which is like, oh my God, I used to sell in my corporate days, I hate selling and all this kind of stuff. But we're never selling, we're serving, and we're always coaching. So if you were coming from your unique, authentic expression of you as a coach, how would you serve? And how would that change in rolling and working with clients? Because then what we're really doing is we're connecting with people on a human basis. We're actually connecting with the human. And that's really powerful when we do that. But it requires a shift in perspective.
Yeah. Connection over information. I love what you said about every conversation. Every time we show up in our work, it can be truly life-changing. I experienced a little bit of that earlier today, just before we got on this call. And somebody who I knew from 10 years ago, and they work in the corporate world, they have been following my work. I had no idea that they were following my work, because I used to work in the corporate world 10 years ago, but I changed career track. And they are at a point wherein they want some clarity on what next for them. And because they have been following my work, one of those lurkers on social media, they got in touch with me and they said, hey, can you help me? Because I've been following your work and I don't know what next to do. What should I do next? And really at a decision point in their life, the kind of decision making that you have been talking about. So I think it is really important for us coaches to own the significance of the work that we do and show up in that power every single time, because we do not know who is getting impacted and where.
Yeah. Showing up in our power is obviously hugely important. Like, you're putting out consistent content. So consistent content with the right message. Obviously, I know your work is kind of resilience, mindset, and a lot about stories, but I'm sure that there's something that resonated with them when you're putting out that content. And that's kind of, in my opinion, is the cherry on top of the cake when somebody messages you saying, I really love, can you help me? And I think the biggest trap that I got into and my experience on it is that when you first start coaching business, it was like, well, I need to get a website. I've got to go on these funnels. I've got to start getting my certifications. I've got to get all these things done. And then you put it all out there and then like, tumbleweed. You're like, isn't this supposed to work?
No.
Isn't this supposed to go? But, enrolling clients, connecting with clients comes from a place. None of that is significant. What is significant is understanding like who you would love to work with, having a methodology where you can take people through a process of change, and then also a system where you can consistently enroll clients. And I think sometimes when we're a new coach, sometimes, well, certainly me, is we focused on the wrong things. And I did that for 2 years. Whereas actually what you did, yeah, I'm sure you've done it as well, Pro, focusing on that. Why isn't it working? It's like, well, it's not how you do it. But the most important thing from listening to what you're saying is the cherry on top of the cake for all coaches listening, yes, is putting out content and people will come through that, that way. But the big bulk of your business is connecting with people, getting on these calls with people, sharing what you do, coaching, finding out what people are up to, asking some questions and connecting with people to find out what their focus is, where they're really stuck, if they would love some help with that. And then once we've done that part, the connecting, then we're inviting people to have a powerful conversation with us, where it's going to be a life-changing conversation where we're going to get deep on what's keeping you stuck and then help you move forward. And that's how you enroll clients, because coaching is this, when you're at a dinner party, someone's, oh, so what you do? No, I have to use an analogy now. So imagine like a sports coach and the team is not performing. You have to use some analogy, or if you blurt it out, it's this transformational kind of mindset thing that kind of unlocks, and they're just like, what? So that's always interesting, when you're probably trying to explain coaching, but the only way that somebody's going to see value is if you give them a breakthrough in their perspective and their reality. And that comes by showing up and serving people powerfully. So I really love what you said around standing in your power. And I would probably say one of the most important things that I learned to do that is find out people that are already doing it.
Yeah.
And find a community of people that are actually enrolling and doing that right now and enrolling clients. Because who you become in the process is, as somebody asked that question earlier around, then you become that next level high performing coach.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yes, having that support from the community and staying in the group of people who are making it work, that's really important.
Yeah. And what you start to find is that when you're around a community of people that are up to bigger things, you start to take on values, beliefs, and learning from them. So just by being part of that environment, part of that community, you then start to change your perspective on things. And then over time, subconsciously, you start to create different results. And I think that's really important piece, is because the world has changed so much now. The security in the job isn't there anymore where we thought it was. Structures and archaic structures where we look to leadership for these people is now starting to break apart. So now we're kind of in like this vacuum of like opportunity for coaching, where also there's an opportunity to be a coach and also to support people to get to their next level. And I think it's really important now, because people are looking for that sense of belonging, that we create that not just within other people, but reconnect to the sense of belonging that's within ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. We can only feel connected with other people when we connect with ourselves.
Yeah.
I took an awfully long time to get that, Adrian.
How long did it take you?
Oh, forever. This was one of the hard concepts for me to get, properly get and implement. Of course, I understood what it meant from a language perspective, but implementing it and living it was hard. And the second one that was really hard for me to get was what you said right in the beginning about external validation. I worked with a Canadian coach, and this amazing coach that I worked with, she said to me, stop looking for external validation. What you need to do is you need to learn how to validate yourself, because once you start validating internally, you will not need that external validation. And I went, what? What does that even mean? Because my entire conditioning, my entire story was based on that external benchmarking, the systems, the just how the entire academic and corporate system is built up. So I just had no idea about validating ourselves. So yeah, it was hard for me to get my head around it, but I got there eventually.
Yeah, and also like validation or having recognition, in is another example of that, being recognized. So how we be recognized is very simply is like, I see you, you see me. It proves that we exist.
Yeah.
So actually being recognized by two humans connecting is huge. And then also being recognized for the work and the impact that we're doing. So as coaches, being recognized, we can look at the impact we're making with other people based on how much income we have as a coach. So that's a very simple barometer of how much we're being recognized. So, but I really resonate with what you said. Yeah, it's certainly a big journey from going to that, because we're going from dependency, into interdependency, or being interdependent, which is around the whole system. And with that comes that responsibility. And I think it is useful to have kind of external, not validation, but external signposts to know we're going in the right direction. But I think you made a great point earlier from the observation of me speaking, Parul, is like, how can I, what's my criteria for success? How will I know when I've achieved that?
Yeah.
Because that's internally referenced rather than always being externally referenced. And it's like, it's pretty simple. Does it make me happy? Does it make me money? I think that's a really important piece.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that they are two, probably the most important things.
Yeah.
Is it making me happy? Is it making me money?
Mm.
Do you want to say something about money and selling? Because I find that that's a sticky point for so many coaches.
Yeah, I think it's a sticky point because wrapped up in the money is often a lot of our beliefs about it. Like, the money is the root of all evil, and they won't have the money to pay for that, and then we're making it mean something about somebody else who's about to pay us something. And then we start to make it mean like, we'll be rejected, I won't be wanted, I'll be abandoned, and all of our stuff comes up.
Yeah.
In that process, because it's confronting, right, when we're in that mode. And I remember, having loads and loads of calls years ago as a coach, and then only enrolling like one person. I'm thinking, oh, it must be something about my self-worth. It's got to be about something around that I'm not worthy or something like that. And that was true for me, but I didn't know how to get out of it. So I think one of the most important things, and one things we teach in High Performing Coach, is how to have the money conversation. And how do you really have that money conversation powerfully? And how do you have it in a way that's enrolling and natural, and that money just exchanges like an energy? Because if we have a view, opinion, and belief that clients don't have the money because of the economy, because of the recession or whatever, guess what shows up for us in that conversation? So the only way I can really suggest saying something about it is that I had some beliefs that weren't working for me. And when I went through High Performing Coach, I got all those weeds out. And then I had a moment there where I could choosing something more useful when I'm in that money conversation. Because here's the breakthrough as coaches. The money conversation for the person is where the rubber hits the road. So we've got all this great vision, we know what's in our way, and then all of a sudden, when we have to powerfully choose our future, and we have to commit to paying that money, then the rubber hits the road. And what do most coaches do? And I did it. Oh, okay, I'll give you time to think about it, bye-bye, and then off you go. Or, yeah, don't worry, take loads of time to think about it. And what I would speak into that is that's where we're in a position as a coach to lean in as a coach. Because often, and just ask, I'm just noticing some resistance around the money, or I'm noticing that you need to think about it. Can I coach you on that? Because Parul, often when that money conversation comes up, or that resistance there, often that's what's been in the way all of their life, which is stopping them creating the life they want. So as a coach, if we can help them get that out of the way, then they can powerfully choose their future, because they haven't got that money story. And often, sometimes, as we know, Parul, it's not the money.
No.
It's something around fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment. And a lot of coaches, we feel the heat and then we're like, out the window, jump out, go and think about it. And it's like, that's when to be calm. And as we've spoken about, be present, and then just reflect it back and say, may I coach you on that? Because I think there's something else. And I've done that a lot of times. And it's such a powerful experience for somebody, because they realize that actually what's wrapped up in the money is more than what they thought. So yeah, that's my answer to that question. It goes to what you said, is like, who are we to not offer that program and take that person through it if it's right for them? Because that could be a life-changing moment for that person. So who are we to decide that for that person? And then it goes about the belief for me, it's not about me, it's about the client. Serving versus selling is important. Serving versus selling, it's not about me, it's about the client. And when you come from that position, you're able to create magic for people.
I think you said something really powerful there. Money is nothing but a fair exchange of energy between the service that you're providing and the commitment that they're making and the investment that they are making. And that's how we have got to look at the money equation. That's all it is.
It's an investment in yourself. Your life is priceless. Your life and investing in yourself, it's the best investment that you're ever going to make. And the only reason that you wouldn't invest that in is because you believe at some level that it can't be done, you won't be able to do it, you'll be rejected. So let's put the money to the side and let's get to that place first and help you resolve that place, so you can powerfully choose. You can powerfully choose your future. Getting the person to that place is really important.
I'll say something controversial there, Adrian. A lot of people say that they absolutely hate when they receive these sales pitches or invitation to groups or anything of that sort. Honestly, I don't mind it. I don't mind receiving those emails, because when I receive them, I can just say no. I can ignore them. I can say, no, this is not for me. No, this is not the right time for me, or it doesn't make sense to me. I have that power. And there are times when I would engage in a conversation. So there's really nothing to get pissed off about.
And just like, it's interesting. It's like, notice what comes up when that does happen. Like, because I've had loads of messages where someone connects me on LinkedIn and cold spams you, and it's just like this massive copy and paste thing. And actually, I've actually converted some of them to be clients. Because, when you notice that person, they're just a human being trying to do the best with the information and where they're at. So I think if we can catch that, and also realizing that when we react to something early on in the morning, that's going to affect our energy all the day. So I think I like what you say. It's like kind of staying neutral to that. And then looking at some of them could be an opportunity, looking at really connecting with that person and trying to, not trying, but doing your best to engage in that conversation if it feels right. But also, if it's not within your ideal client or your niche, then just moving on and making sure that we're focused on serving them rather than getting caught up in those messages sometimes.
And vice versa. If you think that you have got a product or service that's going to help people, just tell people about it, because mind reading is still not a skill that most people have. I don't have that skill yet. I'm working on it.
Mind reading would be good. I'm sure there's like, like almost like Doctor Strange type powers, like a magician.
I would love to have some of those.
That'd be awesome.
Adrian, this was such a delightful conversation. Tell us, do you have anything exciting coming up where people can work with you or enroll for one of your programs?
So I'll drop you the link after this. But I've basically got a workshop. It's a 2-hour workshop. And what everyone will learn on this workshop is the 3 major things holding them back from building a coaching business.
Yeah.
It's a 2-hour workshop. It'd be really tons of value in there. It's live coaching. It's not death by PowerPoint. It's interactive. We also go through how to create high-paying clients without Facebook pages, business cards, or website. And then also we look at giving you a breakthrough on what's holding you back so you can go and create a thriving coaching business. There's no selling on it. There's nothing like that. It's just a powerful 2 hours workshop. So I'll drop that after we've done this. I'll drop that for you to share in the group. And if they click the link, register, and then they can go straight into the workshop. And the difference is, as I said, there's no selling. It's just working with other coaches and really getting deep on exactly what's holding you back to give you a breakthrough and access into a new level of performance for yourself and your business.
Yeah.
So that's
Awesome.
it.
Awesome. So you'll drop the link just underneath this video when we finish.
Yeah. I'll drop the link, drop under this video, and I'll send you the link also. So if you want to share it out, people in the group can, as many people as possible can join the workshop.
Brilliant. That'll be amazing.
Awesome.
Adrian, how can people connect with you, and where are you? Where can we find you on social media?
Just Facebook, LinkedIn. Those are the 2 platforms that I work with. So people can connect with me there. So drop me a message or drop me a message on LinkedIn if you have any questions. I'd be more than happy to help.
Brilliant. Adrian, this has been such a delightful conversation. Thank you so much for coming and sharing your wisdom with us.
Yeah, Parul, I really appreciate, obviously, the way that you've kind of adapted to the conversation. You've added your piece, I've added mine. And I think what we really showed today is around how 2 humans connect and have a meaningful conversation. So thank you from my heart to yours as well.
Thank you so much.